Hello everyone and welcome back to the World Class Stamp podcast for episode 2 with Matt Le Tissier. This episode is about his played against 1 to 11, more about his career and his after dinner speech, and also some controversial topics, Saints Foundation, EA FIFA Legend card and more. Before we get into that, please remember to subscribe to the channel. Have a world class weekend.
Last time you was on the pod, you gave us your best ever Saints 11. What we want to ask you this time now is your against 11. So your toughest competition that you played against. We did speak to Nicholl Southall, and he said you was the toughest he came up against. He said especially on free kicks and stuff.
Yeah.
So
did he?
Be interesting to hear some of your toughest goalkeepers and defenders throughout your career.
It's really funny you should say that, because he was, when I was thinking about the goalkeeper, he was the first name that came into my head.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of people have said on our podcast, give him the world class rating. So he was best in the world for 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah.
It was a shame he didn't make they got banned from Europe, the England sides at his peak. So he didn't quite make a Champions League as such.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, well, it did win a European trophy though. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, goalkeeper wise, who was the toughest goalkeeper that you come up against?
I think Nicholl Southall was the best goalkeeper I came up against. Peter Schmeichel was pretty close behind.
Yep.
David Seaman would be up there. But I think in his heyday, I don't think it was a better goalkeeper in the world than Nicholl Southall.
Yeah, you said that Tim Flowers was the pick of the bunch last time, and all of us missed your joke. When I was editing it, I was like, damn.
I don't know if it was a joke.
Fair enough. So, what
Neville
about
was great. I remember there was one incident down at the Dell, which, looking back, actually quite tickled me. But so I'd never scored against Everton. I played against them quite a few times, and I had this chance at the Dell, and I remember I got through, a little ball got dinked over the top, and I was coming in at a little bit of an angle, and the ball was bouncing, and so it was set up perfectly just for me to go and volley it and smash it in the net. I thought I'll try and be clever here, so I kind of went to dummy it to look like I was going to volley it, but then I was just going to dink it over his head as he dived.
Yeah.
And I went to like feign the volley, and then went to dink it over his head, and he never bought the dummy for the volley. And he just stood there and went like that. Thank you very much. I just remember looking at him going, "You twat!" Yeah. And he just laughed at me.
I think he said on the pod actually he always tried to just stay still.
Stay still.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't buy the dummy at all.
he said he appreciated coming up against the more clever players because he was more of a mental battle.
Yeah.
Rather than, he said, most of them, if they're not thinking, he knows they're going to blast it, and he could stay tall.
Dive early, yeah.
Yeah.
Like an Alan Shearer, basically.
Yeah.
Find that easier, yeah.
He had crazy reaction times, didn't he, Nicholl Southall?
Yeah.
For a big man, he used to fly across the net.
Yeah, he did that. He's a big man now.
Yeah, great player.
So onto your defence then. Are you going to play 4-4-2 again?
Yeah, I'm old school. 4-4-2.
Yeah. Okay. So right back, who's the toughest right back you come up against?
Toughest right back.
And you was a winger, you probably got kicked by a few. So.
Yeah, I mean, I could literally, as a back four, I could almost pick Arsenal's back four of back in the day when it was Dixon, Adams, Keown, Winterburn. I mean, Lee Dixon was I found quite difficult to play against. There was too many. There's too many others that were kind of tricky to play against than Lee. I mean, I don't think he got quite the credit he deserved sometimes.
Gary Neville, right back there.
Yeah, I didn't really find Gary that difficult to play against, to be honest.
Fair enough.
I'm
trying to think of others.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an area where we haven't really had brilliant right backs in this country, in the Premier League.
Yeah,
not in abundance. No, I agree.
Yeah, I didn't play against Carl.
Oh, true. Sorry, I think I meant generally. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but yeah. Sorry, I'm talking about my era, because I think when that question's been asked of me, I've always struggled with the right back, right back spot.
What was the right back for Blackburn? Was it Blackburn or that Carlton Palmer played with?
Oh, Roland Nielsen.
Roland
Good
Nielsen,
player.
yeah.
Actually, very good player.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was, Swedish lad, wasn't he? He was outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he went to Coventry.
He did, yeah.
Coventry.
Sheffield, yeah.
Yeah.
He would have been. Yeah, he would be up there.
Okay. Centre back then. Are you going to go with the Arsenal back four?
Centre backs. I mean, in terms of, I struggled. Martin Keown was horrible to play against. He was just they nicknamed him the Rash for a reason, because he just wouldn't. I mean, George Graham used to literally tell him to follow me around the pitch, and he did. He wouldn't leave my side for 90 minutes. It was just embarrassing. I felt like I knew him better after 90 minutes than I did my missus. So he was horrible to play against. I didn't like playing against Martin. Yeah, the other one I struggled to play against as a centre back was Des Walker.
Des Walker. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I mean, it was the Forest fans used to sing, "You'll never beat Des Walker," and I couldn't. It was like he was too quick for me, and he read the game pretty well. So yeah, I put Des in there as well.
Okay. Left back then.
Stuart Pearce.
I
have no hesitation. I still have cold sweats as a 17-year-old. I remember as a 17-year-old, my second ever game for Saints was against Forest.
Oh wow!
And I was like, as a 17-year-old, it's difficult to imagine now, but I was quite skinny. I was like about 10 stone dripping wet. And I took a look down who I was playing against, and I saw these thighs, and I was like, Jesus Christ, where the hell? And he booted the crap out of me for about 4 years before I kind of bulked up a little bit, and then I wasn't quite so frightened of him. So yeah, Stuart Pearce would get in.
Stuart Pearce. Okay. Midfield then. What about defensive midfielder? You would have come up against Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira, Paul Ince. There'd have been quite a few there, wouldn't there?
There would have been
Carlton.
a lot of candidates for that job. I think I'd probably go with Patrick Vieira.
Yeah. Yeah,
He was pretty awesome. Yeah,
T as well, I suppose.
He did have everything. And also, as a bonus, what a lovely bloke. Honestly, I remember I just retired. This is a true story. I just retired, and I'd gone to on holiday, and I was in Mauritius with my girlfriend at the time, and we were sat in our hotel having dinner one night, and Patrick came with his wife and sat on the next table.
Small world.
And so I was like, "All right, Patrick," and he was so nice, and he went, "Matt, he said, tomorrow night," he said, "you must come to my hotel." He said, "I'm staying at the hotel, obviously the more expensive one. I'm staying at the hotel up the road." He said, "You must come, and you'll be my guest tomorrow night with your girlfriend, and you can come and eat with my family." And honestly, it was one of the loveliest meals I've ever had. We were in this restaurant which was out in stilts, out in the water.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Like with about an 8-course meal, and it was just absolutely stunning. And he wouldn't take a penny for it. He was like, "No, this is on me." So yeah, it was really nice.
Good lad.
He was on-field general. Sweetheart off it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great player. Yeah.
What about some of the other midfielders you'd have in there? So wingers and maybe an attacking midfielder.
So Gaza would be
Yeah.
in the midfield for me. Glenn Hoddle would have to be in the midfield. Somewhere I'd have to squeeze them all in. somewhere in some kind of formation. They were
This sounds like the England lineup in the summer.
Southgate's problem. That
20 midfielders.
I know. Well, I probably actually. I probably wouldn't have a defensive midfielder in it.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
Like, so I would have probably played Hoddle and Gascoigne in the middle.
Right, okay.
Oh, wow, yeah,
have him like box to box.
Or Gaza obviously was probably a little bit better at the defensive side of things than perhaps Glenn was. A bit more. He was a bit of a harder worker, I'd have said. So yeah, I'd have probably played those. But there were, so many good midfielders. I played against Brian Robson as well. He was, a midfielder that could do everything.
Yeah,
he was good at everything about his job, and he was a proper box to box. When midfielders actually, could do more than one job, and you didn't have to be an attacking or a defensive midfielder. Some of them could do it both. But yeah, those days have gone. Some good wingers that I played against.
What is it like as a winger coming up against another winger? Because obviously you're more attacking the full back, or when you moved inside, you're coming up against the defenders. I suppose the wingers and the strikers don't really come into it as much. But how does that impact your game?
There were wingers probably had. It was almost like they had this little pact between them that went, "I won't tackle you if you don't tackle me." She used to go, "All right, you get the ball, you attack our fullback. As long as you let me have the ball, and I'll attack your fullback." But then managers started getting the wingers to come back and doubling up and trying to obviously do that kind of thing. But yeah, there was kind of some very good wingers. I mean, Ryan Giggs destroyed us on many occasions at Old Trafford. He was just running with the ball. You couldn't get it off him. And if you didn't have the pace to match him, you were toast. Yeah. So he would have been right up there. I remember playing against Anders Limpar at Arsenal, and he was tricky as anything. But the one stand out for me was the one I struggled with in the questions before was David Ginola.
Okay, yeah.
David was what a player. Good looking chap as well.
Yeah. And he came to the Premier League older, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
He wasn't in his pomp, I wouldn't say, really. He's probably
but I mean, the seasons he had at Newcastle, especially, and Spurs as well, I thought he was outstanding. So, yeah.
Yeah, if he couldn't beat you one-on-one, he'd just curl it in from 30 yards, wouldn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, David and Giggsy would probably get in there as the wide men.
Okay.
Mark Overmars, you did mention an Arsenal player then, but did you ever come up against Mark Overmars much?
A little bit.
How good was he? Arsenal fan. He was one of my favourite players when I was younger, but
very good.
To rate him on the pitch.
Yeah, no, he was also very good. Yeah, he would be up there in that conversation.
Rapid,
sure.
wasn't he? Absolutely rapid.
Yeah.
And striker wise, I know you put Shearer in your all-time Southampton list. Did you come up against him when he plays for Blackburn?
Yeah, he scored a few against us at Blackburn. He also missed 2 penalties for Blackburn against Southampton.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
In the same game or
no, different games.
Different games.
Yeah. I think one was against Bruce Grobbelaar, I think, and one against Dave Besant. I think the other one might have been.
I'll have to find the highlights of that.
Yeah.
Put it in.
Yeah. But forwards for me, Thierry Henry. Is a no-brainer. I think he's one of the best players the Premier League's ever seen. So he was one of the few people that I used to watch and think sometimes he made it look like he was an adult playing in kids' football.
Yeah.
And he just made it look that easy. So yeah, he would be in there. And I'm going to throw a curveball in because it wasn't Premier League, but I played in a pre-season friendly against Juventus back in the early 90s, and I got to play against Roberto Baggio.
Okay, yeah, Roberto Baggio.
And so whenever people ask me who's the best player you ever played against, I normally pick between Thierry Henry and Roberto Baggio.
Okay,
so
that's
Baggio playing off of Thierry Henry wouldn't be a bad strike.
Yeah. Brilliant.
What about manager against? I mean, that's a tricky one, I suppose. But
well, in my era, there's only one really. It'd be Fergie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
would you have liked to play for him at all if he's come to Southampton for some reason?
Yeah, I think I'd have quite enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who's kind of had the record that he had as a footballer, you'd want to play for that.
Yeah.
And he seemed to want to be on the front foot. His teams wanted to go and attack teams, home and away. He wasn't one of those managers that kind of, went away in Europe and kind of played for a 0-0 draw. He wasn't that type. So, I think I would have enjoyed that.
Okay.
So in that side, who, if any, get the world-class stamp, or maybe quite a lot of them, I would imagine.
Yeah. Omri, Baggio, Gascoigne, Hoddle, Southall.
Arsenal back four.
Vieira, DJ Vieira, maybe? It's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was so many. I mean, as left backs go, I've seen too many that were better than Stuart Pearce.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't just a bully. He also scored a goal as well. He
Take a penalty as well.
Good attacking threat down that left hand side,
Yep.
especially in that Forest team when him and Nigel Clough used to just play 1-2s around the box and he'd go steaming into the area. So yeah, you'd probably say there was quite a few in that team.
Yeah. Okay.
It is.
Yeah. What's
So what's the best performance of your career when you come off the pitch? What do you think is the best game you've ever played?
I would say it would be between my England B hat trick at Loftus Road against Russia.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about that.
Or, yeah.
I can ask now if you want, or you carry on.
Okay, or if it was a Southampton game, I would choose between the day we beat Liverpool 4-1 in 1989, when they were the best team in the country and we smashed them. Could have been 7 or 8 that day. Or that was kind of more of a team performance, but I played well myself that day. I played really well in the last day of the season against West Ham when we had to get something out of the game, otherwise we would get relegated. And we drew 3-3. I scored a free kick, I scored a penalty, and I set up the other goal in that game for Neil Madison, score header. That was one of my, and that was kind of, that kept us up. And that penalty in the second half was like, that was proper pressure.
Bit of pressure, yeah.
Proper pressure. Last day of the season, penalty. I mean, I think we were, what was it at the time? I think we might have been 2-1 down at the time.
Yeah.
So it was like a
big win,
like proper pressure. I think the one thing that was in my favour is it was in front of the Southampton fans, so I didn't have the West Ham fans baying for blood behind the goal.
The limbs, waving around.
Yeah.
How much does it make a difference when you've got opposition fans compared to your own fans?
Yeah, kind of psychologically it makes a little bit of difference. Yeah,
because you see the fans like waving and waving scarves or whatever. You always wonder, like, how much, as a fan, how much am I actually affecting there? Or are they just tuning me out? So yeah, it does. I suppose that, especially the scenario on top of that as well, isn't it?
Yeah. That situation where your club's in danger of being relegated, that's pretty high pressure.
So that England B hat trick, Russia, that was billed as an opportunity to push for the team, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did anyone in that England B side actually get put into the squad? I was really interested to know that. Okay.
Yeah, I think there was a couple. I think Les Ferdinand was in that team and Les went.
Right.
Who else was in that team? I think there was one other player in that team that went.
Did he have a good game?
Not particularly. Yeah, it kind of was billed as a trial game, but obviously it wasn't really.
Yeah. That's why I was interested to know if anyone actually
Well,
did.
if you bag an hat trick, you don't get picked.
Apparently, Glenn Hoddle left before I scored my third one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Seen
I was
enough.
told.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Maybe you still don't know to this day I've got a hat trick, I don't know.
If you're watching, Glenn.
It's like, I would
Tell me next time I see him.
like 2 wasn't quite enough, but you'd got a hat trick. Okay, so on to some like training ground stories, if you can share with us. There's been some like I've seen some on some of the other podcasts you've done where you've mentioned some, but what about one of the famous one is that you mentioned earlier, the Ali Dia came in. There was kind of a bit of about him, stretching the truth or lying about exactly his credentials, but surely you would have trained with him for the whole week.
Yeah.
And Graham Souness seen him for the whole week. And then he still got on 30 minutes in the Premier League. So,
Longer, I think, wasn't it?
was there
A bit longer
question
than that, I think it
marks?
was,
Was there question marks when you saw him in training? Or?
Yeah, I mean, there was massive question marks. I don't know. I genuinely thought that he'd won a competition to come and train with us. Because that would happen back in the day. You would get like stuff like that would happen.
Okay.
It was pretty laid back. I mean, we'd get trialists coming in all the time from like non-league clubs and things. So having a trialist in wasn't that rare. But having somebody who was like looking at him going, really? Is he actually a footballer? It was just bizarre that Graham would have watched him for those few days, and we're training alongside him, and we can all see that he can't play. And yet on the Saturday when we rock up, and he sat in the changing room at 1:30, like an hour and a half before kickoff, and I was looking at the boys going, Christ, that was some competition he won. He's going to get to hear the team talk and everything. And then there he was on the bench. I'm like, whoa. And of course, the injury happens.
Infamous.
The injury happens. He comes on, runs around like a headless chicken, and eventually So
he had a shot on goal, didn't
so
he?
he missed a sitter, I think, if I remember rightly, like right in front
he
of the
connected it
Archers
quite
Road.
well, actually, coming across him.
And then the sub got subbed, and infamously went on to become the worst player that ever played in the Premier League. And
Obviously, yeah.
The worst bit was
I dig that. Yeah. When's the next competition?
I was the one that got substituted for him. Yes, it was me.
Can you see something like that ever happening again? I mean, no, okay.
Never. Not now. Not in this day and age. It's become football's a lot more professional than it was back in our day. You know, it was very relaxed. I mean, if you look at the training ground facilities now that the teams have got, it's amazing, and the security to actually get. Literally, you could walk in off the street and come and watch us train, and nobody would bat an eyelid.
Okay.
Yeah, crazy.
Nobody did very often. We obviously weren't that interested to watch train, but you could literally walk into our training ground and watch us train, and nobody would bat an eyelid. There was no security on the gates, nothing.
I wish I knew that when I was a kid.
I suppose that as pros though, I'd imagine when you get sort of trialists come in, the first thing you're going to do is just blast at him as hard as you can. How's your touch?
Yeah,
yeah, of course,
of course. You know, you need to know if this player's up to standard.
Exactly,
you're taking my place. I'll have this. You know, that's what it's like.
Yeah, it's not only taking your place, but it's also, you know,
can they rely on you?
You're coming out on the trenches with me. I need to know that you're decent enough to be on my team.
Yeah,
you know. And if he plays in your position, then
aim for his head.
I'm guessing no one stayed in.
I remember once at the latter end of my career, we had a Moroccan lad come in on trial, and it was like the first day he was in, and twice in training he put me on my ass. Right? He caught me a couple of times and put me down. And after the second time, I just looked at him and I went, if you want a contract at this place, you're going about this the wrong way.
Look after me,
taking out the top scorer.
You don't take out the talisman in trading, right? You don't do that. But he did. He got a contract.
Did he?
Yeah. Hassan Kashlul.
Do you know what, I knew you were going to say that name. Yeah, defender.
Left midfield.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah, left side of midfield.
Yeah,
went on to Villa.
Scored a couple of goals, didn't he? A few power drivers.
A few goals.
Yeah.
He scored the first two goals. The last game at the Dell.
Right.
When we played Arsenal, and I scored the winner. He scored the first two goals in that game.
Oh right.
So he was going to be the last Southampton player to score a goal at the Dell. Until I rocked up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not for you.
Until I waddled off the bench.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Is there any other stories from the training ground that sticks out? Obviously, the Dio was a
we had
famous one.
A few scraps, a few fights in the time that were quite entertaining. Yeah. I remember being shocked beyond belief when I was a kid. Like, I think I was only about 17. I'd only been at the club like a few months. I was still an apprentice. And we were training at our old training ground over at Wellington opposite Eastleigh's football ground. It was a university ground we used to hire. We didn't have our own training ground. And I remember the older people who listening to this podcast will remember Joe Jordan.
Oh, Joe Jordan, Scottish
apprentice, Scottish centre forward, no teeth, like a tough bloke. And I was his apprentice, type bloke at Christmas, by the way. Not much of a Christmas bonus going around there. And him and George Lawrence, who was like a right winger, really quick. George built like an outhouse, like proper, and the two of them, like Joe had got upset, I think, because George's crossing wasn't the best, and Joe liked a bit of service into the box, and they came together in the training ground. Oh my God, it was like a heavyweight battle going on the pitch, and nobody was like brave enough to go step in between the two of them.
Imagine,
and I was like 17. I'm going, oh, is this what professional football's all about? Teammates smashing the hell out of each other.
It's like AJ versus Fury in there.
Yeah,
you're not going nowhere near that.
It was, that was scary. I was just a 17. I'd just come from Guernsey. I'd never witnessed a fight before. That was a nice one.
Brilliant.
What about youth players coming through as well? I mean, Gareth Bale's the obvious one. Players like that through the academy. How do you receive players? That's the wrong word. But you know what I mean? When they come into the
I didn't
ground.
see Gareth come in. Gareth came in just after me. But as players, you could see the youngsters. The youngsters would come in and train with the first team sometimes. Play practice matches against them, and you'd kind of be able to tell quite early on who was decent and who wasn't. So we had kind of in my day, probably the youngsters that came through would be people like Matt Oakley, who spent like 10 years at the club, centre midfield, good player. Wayne Bridge, who obviously went on to play for England, left back, he came through, and actually Wayne started as a left winger at Southampton, and probably wasn't that good at left wing, and it was actually Dave Jones who changed him, who saw the fact that he's probably not going to make it as a left winger, but he might be able to make it as a left back who was decent on the overlap, and Dave changed his position. And actually, fair play to Dave, because he actually, when he did it, he went in the local paper and did an interview, and he said, "I think Wayne Bridge could play left back for England."
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Like, at the time, and I read that, and I was like,
Big statement.
"What the hell is he on about?" I said, "I've just seen him play left wing. He's having a shocker." But fair play, he saw something in him, and he did, and he went on to play for England, left back. Yeah, brilliant.
So you touched on managers there, key decisions. You've had a few managers in your career.
I had 9, yes, at Southampton.
Yeah, and a couple of well-known moments, I guess, with managers, if you like. I mean, Chris Nicholl, I think, was that where the label started of you being, coined a
lazy player?
Yeah.
I think, as a young lad, I spent a lot of time on the bench because Chris Nicholl thought that, I wasn't fit enough to play 90 minutes. But I don't think he actually meant in terms of my actual fitness levels. I think he meant physically, because I was, as I said before, I was really skinny as a 17-year-old and playing men's football, against hardened pros, seasoned pros, and this is back in the days when the pros you were allowed to tackle properly, and you didn't get a yellow card as soon as you touched somebody. So you had to be able to take a bit of a beating. As well back in the day. So I think Chris was trying to protect me a little bit in terms, and when he was talking about actually my fit, he was talking about my strength as opposed to my actual fitness levels, because I think that's where I got labelled very early on, and it kind of stuck, and people thought I was lazy. I wasn't lazy, I was economical.
Yeah.
So,
there's a difference.
What about when Glenn Hoddle, obviously you had your kind of where you turned him down, maybe moving to him, and then he comes to Southampton. What was the relationship like there? Because it was obviously, it's changed now. You've obviously, later on in your career, but at that time at Southampton, what was your thoughts of him coming in and
It was kind of mixed feelings really when he came into Southampton, because obviously he'd left me out of the '98 World Cup squad as England manager, and I was very, very disappointed at that. And then, a year later, I think it was, or a few months later, he's turning up at Southampton as manager. And it was kind of mixed feelings, because, he was my hero as a kid. I loved him as a footballer. And I just hoped that kind of we'd be able to get on. And it never really materialised. He kind of almost went out of his way to kind of pick on me in training and stuff. When I'd make a mistake, he'd be jumping down my throat. Other players would make mistakes, he wouldn't say anything. And I felt like it was a little bit unfair. And if there's one thing that really annoys me in this life, it's unfairness. And so he was kind of the only manager who I really snapped at during my career. I just remember once in a training session, I'd tried to pick someone out with a pass. It didn't go the way it was planned, and he just jumped straight down my throat, and I just felt myself so frustrated. Not that frustrated that I hadn't passed it properly, but also that he's just on my case. Yeah, like he's not on anybody else's case. And I just turned around and I said, "Why don't you just fuck off?" and it was the first time I'd ever sworn at my manager, and I was like 30 years of age at this point, 31, something like that. And I'd never sworn at my manager. I was always very respectful. Even when they dropped me, I never swore at them. I never kind of demanded to be put back in the team. I'd just get on with it, and I just lost it at that point.
Where was Ali Dia at that point, receiving the pass? It's his fault.
Yeah, so that was frustrating.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yours on. I'll put that at the end. I'll put that back in at the end.
Well, we're on to the penalties now, are you?
Yeah, I'll put that in at the end. If you want to go to the legendary career.
So you've had a legendary career. Xavi's idol has been said, but no EA Sports FC legend card. Have you ever been approached to be in the video game or anything like that?
Yeah, I was. When was it? I think it was 2020. I think it might have been just after I lost my job at Sky, and my agent rang me up and said, "Oh, I've been approached by EA Sports about they're doing a Legends thing. They wanted to use your image, blah blah blah." And they said it'll be a 6-year contract, and it was something like, what was it? Something like 16 or 18 grand a year for 6 years.
Okay.
And part of the deal is that you would have to do some promotional work for them.
Okay.
And so I was like, I just spent quite a few years on my social media account slagging FIFA off for being corrupt. And now all of a sudden they want me to endorse their FIFA 20, whatever it was. And I was like, "Oh, that's a bit awkward." So I said to my agent, I said, "Look, I don't mind EA Sports using my image on the game." I said, "But I'm not going to do any promotional work for FIFA, so I can't." So I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that they do. I think they're a corrupt organisation. I'm not going to have my name alongside FIFA's. I said, "But if EA Sports want to use it, that's fine. But I'm not doing any promotional work."
Yeah.
And so they came back and went, "No, you're right."
Well,
so yeah, that was the reason why I'm not on a.
Well, the reason why I wanted to
Legends
ask you this is because they've now they've parted ways.
They have. I noticed that.
FC 24. It's still created by EA Sports, but there's no FIFA attachment.
I know.
So, do we need to get your agents on the phone, get a Matt Le Tissier card in the game?
I haven't got an agent anymore because he dumped me for being too controversial.
Joking. Well, we're going to have to send some emails.
Yeah, we'll have to send an email for you, mate.
Yeah, if they want to get back in touch, I'll consider the offer.
Brilliant.
I wanted to ask you as well, linked to that, Premier League Hall of Fame. Were you taken out of that?
I was taken out of that, yeah.
Patchy Severa, I think it was.
I was in the original list of 30, I think it was, that they chose the first batch of people from. And then when the second list came along, obviously I'd been too controversial again, and they'd taken me off the list. But I really don't care.
Does that come with anything, or is it just a list of players?
Just a list of players.
Okay.
I'm already in the National Football Museum Hall of Fame, which I got inducted into about 12 years ago, I think 11, 12 years ago. So that's kind of the Football Association one that's been going since that's football. People in that Hall of Fame have gone back like hundreds of years to the start of when football started. So that's a far more important one to be in. The Premier League started like 25 years ago, whatever it was. It's 30 now, and it's 32. And it doesn't really bother me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Can we expect maybe a Madame Tussauds waxwork?
I wouldn't have thought so. There's not enough wax for my nose.
It is.
Okay, so into your time as club ambassador at Southampton and your role there, and what you did for a number of years, no doubt, and what's happened there?
I was I was club ambassador when I first retired, and then the Sky Sports job came along. So I kind of I chose to do Soccer Saturday over the kind of ambassador role at Southampton match days then, because Sky were paying a lot more. And so I'd kind of been ambassador, wasn't ambassador, and then they asked me back to be an ambassador again, which I did about 2015, I think, 16, something like that. So I became ambassador again. And then in 2021, I think it was, when obviously I was being fairly outspoken on social media. Some people didn't like that. They don't believe that people should have freedom of speech. They should be very careful with that view, because that's a dangerous place to be in. And the football club were getting a lot of complaints from supporters ringing in and emailing in saying that I shouldn't be ambassador for the club because I'm, saying all these things on social media. And so I decided to resign from my position as ambassador, because I didn't want the club having to deal with, idiotic fans who don't like people having a different opinion to them. So I chose to resign so that the club didn't have that pressure from fans anymore. So simple as that, really.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And is the foundation something separate again to that?
So that was the foundation was something separate. They stopped. I was ambassador for the charity arm of the football club as well. They stopped using me as well in 2022. I think it was. No, probably about around the same time, probably. And yeah, they decided to stop using me for stuff. And then about a year ago, just over a year ago, I think it was. Actually, yeah, it was the start of the season that we were in the Championship. So the foundation, just to put it into context, the foundation, when they're in the Premier League, get quite a big amount of money from the Premier League towards their fundraising for all the stuff that they do in the community, and they do great work in the community. And I'd been helping them with that for many years. And then we got relegated. So when you get relegated, that money from the Premier League is no longer there. So their funding is cut quite dramatically. So they have to then try and do a lot more fundraising to try and make up the shortfall so they can continue to do all the stuff that they do in the community. And at the start of the season, we were in the Championship last year. The head of the foundation asked for a meeting with me, in which he apologised to me for, not handling the situation very well back in the day, and kind of getting rid of me, and asked me if I would consider going back as an ambassador. And I said to him, I would consider coming back as an ambassador. All I would need from you is an apology for the way that you treated me. And he said, well, I'm giving you that apology now. I said, yeah, I appreciate that, and I accept your apology. I said, all I would need is for you to put that in writing and do it publicly, and then I'll come back, because it was quite public the other way. I said, so if you could just do the same, then I'll come back as an ambassador for the foundation. And he said, I'll have to go away and think about that. And when he went away and thought about it, he came back with what I thought he would say, and he said, I can't do that. He said, he wasn't prepared to do it. So I said, well, that's fine. I'm not prepared to come back as an ambassador.
Is he taking advice from somewhere else, do you think? Or is it just this decision lies with him, do you think? Or?
No, I think he would have had to have gone above to have asked somebody if they were able to do that.
Okay.
I think he would have been prepared to do it, but I think there was somebody above him that wasn't prepared to do that.
Okay.
Maybe the PR department or something.
Yeah.
Oh, still sticking with the club there. A bit further back in time now. Were you ever at one point close to becoming chairman?
It was the takeover
club?
attempt, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
there was a takeover attempt. I mean, I looking back, I don't know quite how close it was really, because I don't know how serious the people were that had asked me to get involved with their bid. Obviously, I was taking the word of one of the guys that had approached me, and it turned out. I think it turned out in the end that they weren't really that serious about things. I think there were kind of a few chances in there.
Okay.
And it was kind of using me and my association with the club to try and get control of the club. So I don't think it was that close in the end, and I'm quite happy that it didn't happen. I think, with what did happen with the Libers coming in and the money that they were able to inject into the club got us out of League One and the Championship pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And we kind of had a pretty good spell under them. So yeah, all things worked out well in the end.
Yeah, we spoke to Ricky Lambert, wasn't it? And he said they really invested in the structure, and he felt like there was a real kind of move towards more professionalism.
Yeah.
Invested in the academy, and he said, it felt like that. When after meeting with them, he felt like he was going somewhere. And obviously, like you say, they had those. It was back-to-back promotions.
Yes.
Yeah.
From League One to the Premier League. So, and they had a good squad, a core squad there with Schneiderlin, Lallana, Ricky Lambert, Jason Punchin. There was like a good group of guys.
Jose Font. They spent £1 million on Jose Font, which was £1 million very well spent. He's a great servant for us.
Yeah.
He spent £1 million on Ricky Lambert, which was
bargain,
absolute bargain.
Yeah,
smashed him in, didn't he?
Was that around the Cortese, Rupert Lowe period?
Cortese period. Rupert Lowe was gone by then.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mean Rupert Lowe MP?
Yeah. He's elected now, isn't he?
He is. He's in Houses of Parliament.
Yeah.
MP for Great Yarmouth.
Reform UK, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, maybe we'll go into that a little bit. But
yeah, he sounded a bit of again, spoke to Ricky Lambert. Cortese seemed a bit of a character.
He was different.
Yeah,
he was different. He was very driven, but incredibly ruthless and a little bit disrespectful of the history of Southampton Football Club.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
Great.
Are you keeping him or jumping?
Yep. How you push your time, Matt? Is
good.
it like a hard top? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just go through the last few then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, obviously we've just mentioned this a few times now. We spoke to Ricky Lambert, if you didn't know, and we talked about the People's Health Alliance and the People's Farm and Food Alliance. We know you did some work with them and just help promote here. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that and the work that they do in trying to help promote sustainable food and for the communities, and just giving people some general advice around health and treatments that maybe they can help to benefit their living style?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of organisations that have sprung up that are away from the mainstream medicine, because I think a lot of people feel like that mainstream pharmaceutical industry has been captured and isn't particularly doing great things for people. So people like the People's Health Alliance. You've got people like Dr. Tess Laurie, who are doing some great work with, let's say, more perhaps alternative therapies, and perhaps stuff that the mainstream don't really kind of want you to know about. And probably CBD is one of those things, comes into that bracket as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of organisations that have sprung up that are trying to be a bit more open and a bit more ethical in the way that they go about giving advice on people's health. So yeah, I spoke at the People's Health Alliance fundraising dinner back in, blimey, that's about a year ago now, I think it was. And I just spoke about my experiences with dealing with the football authorities, trying to get an investigation into why there was more footballers collapsing on the pitch than there was in my day. And so yeah, I just gave my kind of experiences with that, and I think it's important that people get to know about a different side of things, that perhaps there is a different way of dealing with your health than just a pill for every ill, because I'm not sure that's the greatest way to go about things. And I think I've had a massive distrust of the pharmaceutical industry over the last few years, and yeah, there are other ways of going about looking after yourself.
Yeah, and a resident farmer, Steve, he grows his own food, so it's a good maybe way to
self-sustainability. The less you can have to rely on government for anything, the better your life's going to be.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You touched on it a little bit there. Am I right in hearing that Bobby Barnes now left FIFPRO? Just linked to
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Bobby's left now.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was going to say, that is interesting. But yeah.
You'd think that the FIFPRO would have a database, wouldn't you, of because they have a doctor at FIFPRO, they have a resident doctor there. You would think he might have a database of all the people that have collapsed on the field of play. I emailed the doctor at FIFPRO to ask him for it, and he told me he didn't have it.
Because it didn't exist, or
It's called turning a blind eye.
Yeah, willful blindness, is it?
Well, with,
Willful blindness.
Yeah, we live in an age of data analysis, don't we? And key data like that's just gone missing, hasn't it? Supposedly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Steve.
Okay, Sholing FC. I hope I pronounced that right.
Yeah, Sholing. Yep.
Yeah. So it's a new role for you.
It is. Yeah.
And, what are you
I've
up
become
to?
a community ambassador and a director up there. They're a local club in Southampton. Southampton's the second biggest club, actually. And my old mate, who was my manager at Eastleigh Football Club when I played for Eastleigh just after I retired from Southampton. Eastleigh were in the Juice and Wessex League at the time. And I went and played a few matches for them. And Paul Doswell was my manager, and he, through non-league football, he'd been around a bit, and he has become manager at Sholing, and asked me to get involved. And it's a thing he wants to do to help the community there. They're giving out, I think it was 5,000 free season tickets to anybody under 19 in the Sholing area, which is a fantastic gesture on behalf of the club to try and get people in. And he asked me if I would just come on board as a community ambassador, go and watch a few games, maybe go and view a few training sessions. I might even join in if my knee gets better. And yeah, just generally kind of help out with ideas and get involved at the club. So yeah, that's what I've agreed to do.
And you opened this new stand there?
They opened a new stand there last Friday night against the Southampton under-18 team. Went up there and very entertaining game. I think it ended up 5-3, I think it was. So yeah, it was pretty good evening. And yeah, hopefully the club will be able to go from strength to strength.
Great.
Okay, what else are you currently doing, Matt?
So I do my after dinner speaking. I also play a lot of golf. I play on the European Players Tour, which is a new tour that's been set up over the last couple of years. Competitive golf with good golfers and pro golfers. So it's a chance for amateurs to play alongside pros and celebrities. And
is that the pro-am?
It's kind of not almost a pro-am kind of format, but it's a Stableford. It's an individual competition,
yeah.
so it's not team.
Up, yeah.
It's not teams, and it's played on a Stableford basis. The pros, the pros are playing off of plus handicaps, so you're kind of playing off a level playing field with everybody. And yeah, I've really enjoyed that. So that's been cracking fun and taking up a bit of my time this summer.
I want to say, did Peter Aldenwingy recently make us pro for the golfer?
I've heard that. Yeah, I did hear that.
Did he?
Yeah, he actually made he's an official pro now, so he can go on tours and stuff. So
one of those QPR signing scenarios.
I don't know if he's still in the Loftus Road car park. But yeah, apparently he is fully fledged pro now. So yeah, congrats to him. But
I'm not that good.
Do you bump into Gareth at all on the circuits?
I haven't bumped into Gareth actually. No, not for a very long time.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully, yeah. No, I'm playing in a celebrity all-star celebrity cup game at Celtic Manor in September, I think. So he might be there. He may be there.
Down the road from us. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Any returns to punditry or any?
This is the first season that's just gone. That's the first season I haven't done any punditry at all.
So exclusive to World Class Stamp then.
So exclusive to the World Class Stamp, absolutely, yeah. So I was working for a company called Mola. We're covering the Bundesliga and the Dutch league over the last 2 or 3 years. So I watched quite a bit of that football. But yeah, last season they didn't have any. So that was the first season I've had it every Saturday to myself for quite some time.
Do you think you'll ever want to or get offered that again? And have you? I suppose.
I'd do it again. Yeah. I enjoy it. I love it, and I really enjoyed actually covering a couple of different leagues.
Yeah,
doing the Premier League for many years. You kind of it was actually nice and refreshing to actually go and then do some research on some other teams, other players, and get to know players. And it's quite nice now when teams in the Premier League are signing players from Holland or from Germany, and they sign this player, and I go, oh yeah, I remember watching him a couple of years ago. He was, I remember seeing him. He's a decent player. Blah blah blah. So yeah, that's been quite nice. If the opportunity arose again, I'd give it another go. Yeah.
So there's a bit of travel involved with that. You talk about the Bundesliga. Are you expected to go to?
No, they had a studio in London.
Okay.
So yeah, it wasn't much different for me. It was only like probably about 20 minutes from where Sky was. So it wasn't much different.
And we just want to touch as well on your penalty record. So obviously 47 out of 48 attempts.
Yep.
Only the one was the goalkeeper?
Mark Crossley.
4th
of March, 1993.
Yeah.
Still have nightmares about that one, you, Matt.
Doesn't he know it as well? Yeah.
He went a bit early as well, didn't he? Oh, that's the rumours. But yeah, obviously fantastic penalty record. But if you was to be in like a penalty shootout, say for England in a Euro final, who are the other 4 penalty takers you'd like alongside you take a shootout?
Oh, who would I like?
From your era, say.
Exclusively from my era.
Yeah, let's go with that.
So they've got to be English as well, I guess, if it's for England. Blimey,
That's a tough one, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably take. I played against Steven Gerrard.
Yeah.
And Frank Lampard.
Yeah.
So I'd probably have them.
Gerrard and Lampard.
From my era. Who else in my time with it? I mean, Shearer missed a lot of penalties.
We still can't get anyone to call him world class, mind.
It's a split decision. Yeah.
We've had about 7 or 8 pros on now, and then none of them has given the stamp. So
not one.
World class goal
it was
scorer.
Controversial when I said no.
We did. Yeah.
But I mean, I'd probably still, because of his mentality and I'd probably still take Alan.
Yeah.
In a penalty shootout, I probably would. Wouldn't take Gareth Southgate.
Stuart Pearce.
Actually, I probably would take Stuart. I know he missed one in 90, but I think, again, his mentality, his strength of character, I probably would have him in.
Yeah, Euro 96 was a massive moment for him, wasn't
Absolutely,
it?
Absolutely, yeah. I remember it well.
Fair play to him.
Left out that squad as well.
Brilliant.
Ivan Toney. I know he's not in my era, but I like.
He's a great
can't
penalty
look
taker.
though. Close your eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good penalty taker.
Yeah.
Unbelievable technique.
I mean, I didn't play against it, but Ricky Lambert.
Oh yeah,
Ricky Lambert would be.
Well, there you have Ricky Lambert.
My
actually,
first pick. Ricky Lambert.
Are you taking the first one?
See, I would want to take the one at the end.
5th. Yeah. Okay.
I'd want the one with all the pressure on it.
Okay.
Oh right, okay.
Fair dues.
Yeah. Well, Matt,
I did that to my manager once. The only penalty shootout I was ever involved in. I don't know if we spoke about it last time. The only penalty shootout I was ever involved in was at Old Trafford in an FA Cup replay. And the manager, Ian Bramford, came to me after extra time finished and he went, "I want you to take the first penalty." And I went, "No." So I'm taking the last one. And he was like, "What?" I went, "Yeah, I want to take the winning penalty. Give me the one at the end." So anyway, we go do the penalty shootout. Our first 4 penalties, we all score. And Man United missed 2 penalties, and I don't even get to take one.
Better than the other way, I guess, and you don't get a chance.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Lose,
Serves me right for wanting to be the hero. I never got a chance. Tim Flowers was the hero. He saved it, and then we were at the Stretford end, and all our fans were at the other end. I'll never forget. I mean, we just played 120 minutes, and Tim scores, and he sprints down the pitch towards our fans, and we couldn't catch him because he'd been stood in goal all day. The rest of us were out on our feet because we just done 120 minutes. He's sprinting down there, and we can't catch him.
Was his penalty the pick of the bunch, or?
Oh no, he saved it.
He saved it.
He didn't take the penalty. He didn't take his. Our penalties were really good because I was stood in the centre circle at Old Trafford watching the penalties.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Peter Schmeichel was in goal. I remember stood in the centre circle thinking, oh, he looks quite big in that goal.
Yeah.
Don't look like there's much space either side of him. And I think we had Barry Horn, Neil Ruddock, Mickey Adams, and I think Shearer was the other one. And they all scored. And I think two missed. I think Giggsy missed. I think Giggsy missed after he was juggling the ball when he was walking up there. He was juggling the ball up there, all casual.
Yeah.
And then missed the penalty.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
All right.
That's my penalty shootout experience.
Yeah. Well, should win a few penalty shootouts for them.
Yeah.
Okay, then, yeah, so let's come towards the end now. We're going to have the 10 light-hearted questions.
Cool.
Fire it away and, see what you answer.
Okay.
So, you know, you love your golf.
Yep.
What's the best round of golf you ever had? And have you had a hole-in-one?
My best round of golf was 5 under par at my course where I'm a member at Stoneham Golf Club. And I have had 5 hole-in-ones.
No way.
Oh, good.
You?
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
Yep.
So, if you were trapped on a desert island somewhere with one other ex-professional footballer and you needed to get off, who would you choose and why?
And I needed to get off the island.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd choose Franny Benali.
Franny Benali?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because Franny is so fit, he'd be able to swim off with me on his back.
Good choice.
So mine is the flick-up free kick against Wimbledon.
Yes.
94, I think it was. Did you ever do it again?
Nope.
If you didn't, why not? And okay, you didn't. Why not?
To this day, I have no idea why not. I don't know. It just kind of happened, and it was like I don't know if I forgot about it or maybe subconsciously I just didn't want to try it again in case it didn't go in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Just
I
leave
didn't
it
have
at
a 100% record.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I don't think it was that. That wouldn't have bothered me really. So I don't know. I think it was because whenever we got a free kick round the box, I was always pretty confident of being able to shoot from the ball off the deck and kind of curl it somewhere or get it over the wall. And I felt like the other one was kind of a bit more high risk.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of potential for something to go wrong in that free kick. Like,
yeah.
You could make yourself look like a right twat doing that free kick wrong.
I assume you did it in training quite a lot, did you, or not?
No, I did it in training once. The day before, I practiced it once. Like, took about 10 or 12. Had about 10 or 12 goes at it the day before, and that was it.
Any go in?
A couple went in. I don't think it was a goalie in goal though. I think I was just messing about. And a couple went in, and a couple went in. A few went in the trees behind the goal. And it was only because when the free kick was given, I was like, I put the ball down. I was checking the angles, see what if I was going to go over the wall or the other side. And Jim Magilton went to me, "Why don't we try the free kick from yesterday?" And I just went, "All right then." That's it. That's how it came about. And Jim rolled it back to me. And funny enough, when I was practicing it the day before, when I was flicking it up quite high because that allows you the time to change your feet and then strike the volley, because you don't just kind of flick it and volley it. You kind of do a little bit in between where you change feet. And so I was flicking it up quite high to give myself enough time to volley it. So when he rolled it back to me on that day and I flicked it up, as I flicked it up, it went nowhere near as high as what I was flicking it up the day before. Like, and I can in that split second, I can remember me thinking, "Fuck, that's not high enough." Right? And so I almost kind of rushed it a little bit to kind of get the strike in, so I could just change my feet and hit it. And as it happened, because I did that, it kind of made the ball dip a bit more, and it kind of come down. It come down just in time. Yeah. So it was probably, it was probably good that I didn't flick it up quite as high. Because when I'd flicked it up quite high, a few of them I'd kind of volleyed, and they just kind of kept going as opposed to dipping. They kind of just kept rising and rising and going in the trees. So I think if you're going to do that free kick, don't flick it up that high, and it makes it easier to get the ball to dip.
No danger in any of us doing that.
Try it on Tuesday now.
But you know what's really lovely? What's really lovely is even this week, I've had a member of the public come up to me and tell me how long he tried practicing that free kick for after he saw me do it.
Oh.
And he still couldn't do it.
Did you know
leave
as well?
that one to you, Matt.
You know, and that's like 30 years ago, and people still coming up to me now and going, "Oh, that free kick! I tried that in the playground for so long, and I couldn't do it." And like, that's a nice legacy to leave football. Like 30 years, people still want to talk about something that you did on a football pitch.
I don't know if it's been tried again, is it, by anyone? I haven't watched every single game for the whole of eternity, but I don't know if you know.
I don't see it very often. No, I don't see it very often. I'm sure it has somewhere in some league somewhere in the world. But
was Ronnie Eklund in the team that season, 94?
No, I think he came the following season.
Because he, later in his career, did the same free kick. I don't know if you know this.
Oh, did he?
When he played in the States. I think it was in the States or Canada, probably the States. From a bit further out, and he absolutely smashed it top bins.
Oh,
so
really?
have a look on YouTube.
I need to see that.
Yeah, have a look. It's a great goal.
I'll have a look at YouTube on that.
So
I loved Ronnie. He was one of my favourite players to play with at Saints. Yeah. Sadly, it was only about 20 games I played with him for, but it was brilliant.
Yeah.
All right, okay. So, England got to two finals, 2 Euro finals. Will you ever see them win a major tournament in your lifetime?
I mean, I hope so. But, you know, it's been a long time already. I missed 66 by 2 years. I mean, I think I want to believe that I will.
Yeah.
I want to believe that I will. We have come close, and I think if we get a decent manager, I think we've got the players to do it.
Okay. Similar question. Southampton Premier League or England World Cup? Either as a player or as a fan. Which one would you prefer?
Oh, wow. England World Cup would be massive for the country.
Yeah.
You know, Premier League for Southampton would be massive for Southampton. But England with the World Cup would be massive for the whole country. So I'd have to take, you know, the 50, 60 million people over the 300,000 or something in Southampton.
Okay, yeah.
So junior career, best perk or freebie you ever had?
Best freebie?
Or perk,
Freebie Stevie.
We had a McDonald's gold card.
Did you?
Yeah, we literally had a card where you go and get a free McDonald's whenever you wanted.
Oh, brilliant.
As much as you wanted. I
Didn't
mean,
know
how
they existed.
ridiculous! How ridiculous is that they would give Premier League footballers a McDonald's gold card to go and get a burger whenever they wanted? You could have a free Big Mac meal, as many as you want, whenever.
Were they? I've never heard of a McDonald's gold card.
Have you heard of like a
This was
Nando's,
like in the mid-90s.
You get like a black card, I think it is, with Nando's, and you get free Nando's. I think the idea is basically you see all your favourite footballers having a Nando's, you'll go and have one yourself.
Yeah.
So probably same deal with McDonald's.
So yeah.
Did you have a
the
few,
strange
or?
thing about that was I didn't really use it very much because I didn't like Big Macs.
Right.
So it was for a Big Mac meal.
Okay.
That was what you could get with it.
You haven't got like an attic full
And I
of
don't
Happy
really
Meal
like Big
toys.
Macs, so I didn't really use it. I used it for other people. I used to get a Big Mac meal.
Here's the card.
Have you still got that card?
Pretend
or?
it was for me.
Yeah, Matt.
No.
I mean, had it been a KFC card, I'd have been hammering
Oh,
that.
you okay? Big fan of the fried chicken, yeah. Okay.
Quality. Winter or summer holidays? What would you prefer to go on?
I like the sun. I'm a warm person, so I've never been on a skiing holiday. So yeah, it'd be sunshine for me.
Weekend of sunshine. Okay.
I like the heat.
Okay, and so if you could back to your playing career, so if you could change like one moment during your playing career, what would that be?
Header I had against Italy in my last ever game for England, which went just past the post. If that went inside the post, I might have gone to the '98 World Cup.
Yeah, just wide, wasn't it? That header, I think I remember. So yeah, you think you would have got into the squad if that would have?
Yeah, because I think that would have
post?
changed. It would have been my first goal for England. You know, we wouldn't have ended up losing that game. And you know, as normally happened during my career, if my team lost a game, I normally got the blame for it. Which was what the press kind of did to me that day. So we probably wouldn't have lost the game, and you know, I would have perhaps had a bit more positive publicity, and that might have changed the trajectory of my England career.
Okay. And I think 10th now, the last one, yeah.
Well, you got one, and then there's one more.
Okay. What's the worst goal you've ever scored?
The worst goal I ever scored?
Yeah.
The worst goal I ever scored was a goal that I didn't really know much about. So it was a game at Loftus Road. It was like 1988 or something. And corner came in. So one of our players headed it towards goal. Their defender cleared it off the line and literally smacked it straight at me. And it hit me on the hip and went in.
Nice.
I literally had no idea. I was crapping myself because the ball was coming towards me. I kind of went like that, and I just felt this thud here. And the next thing, the ball was in the back of the net. I was like that. Thank you very much.
They all count.
Indeed, yeah.
They all count.
I thought you were going to say the Taibbi goal.
No, I mean that was a great strike.
Thundered past
The spin I put on that to bamboozle him, you wouldn't believe. But yeah, that would kind of be up there. That was more embarrassing for the goalkeeper.
Yeah, true.
All right, last one. What was your favourite penalty of the England boys at the Euros? I know you mentioned earlier, Tony's, or was it? It's called Cole Palmer's, or was it Trent actually winning the shootout?
Yeah, do you know what? I think with the pressure on the one to win it, although the others were, I mean, they were good penalties. They were all good penalties, but I think seeing Trent walk up there, knowing that he probably hadn't taken that many penalties before, but the way he dispatched it, I was like, whoa, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That was confidence. That was like good strike. Yeah, I think keeper, no chance. No chance.
They look good today. It was
so yeah, that was
the best I've seen.
And that was obviously a massive celebration as well.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Not many minutes on the pitch either, really, generally. So
no.
Decent.
No, not at all.
Out.
So yeah, big balls.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think can't finish the pod any better than that. So yeah, thank you, Matt, for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
And
thank
enjoy
you,
it as ever, boys.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
cheers,
Cheers,
thank
mate.
you, and thank you all, you guys, for watching. If you want to catch new episodes, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you want to get involved in the debate, drop a comment in the comment section and hit that subscribe button to help support the channel. But that's it for this time, guys. Have a world-class weekend.